This is the strawberry tree fruit. Scientific name, Arbutus Unedo. Years ago, I found this tree growing on the side of the road when I was in Washington. I noted that the flavor was a bit like peach or mango, but it had a sandy texture. Although this fruit grows in the United States and a lot of other countries as well, most people don't know that it's even edible. In fact, it has a long tradition of being used locally throughout the Mediterranean. How is it used? Well, like most things, it's collected to make alcohol. Despite its importance as a local beverage, sadly the use of this fruit is losing its popularity in the areas that it grows. However, in one country, there is an effort to keep this tradition alive. Today, I will be visiting a magical land that understands the potential of this little-known fruit. I will taste the fruit, I will drink the drinks, I will try products made from it. I'm going to visit a farm, I'm going to visit a museum, I'm going to visit a distillery, and I'll even meet some of the people involved in keeping the tradition of this incredible fruit alive. And to do this, I'm going to Portugal. So to be honest, I didn't actually go to Portugal just to find one fruit. I came there because I was working on a cruise line with a circus. Yes, really. After 10 days at sea, we crossed the Atlantic Ocean, we ported in Lisbon, and we went straight to a restaurant. My waiter scowled at me when I requested a cheap vegetarian appetizer on their otherwise meat-centric menu. However, when I asked him for a shot of Aguardiente de Madrono, a brandy made from the strawberry tree fruit, all of my sins were forgiven. Even though I'm sure I butchered the name, the waiter gave me a big smile, he rushed off to the kitchen and came back with a little shot glass and placed it down in front of me with a flourish. My first impression is that this is something that is very important in Portugal. However, it's something that tourists usually don't ask for. I got some Lisbon street cred by asking for this drink, and thankfully the waiter didn't stick around long enough to realize that not only am I a vegetarian, but that also I don't drink. In Portugal, this is actually a crime punishable by banishment. But thankfully, I didn't go to Portugal alone. Alright everybody, so I have with me the Madrono liqueur, which is made from strawberry tree fruit, something I've tried before in Seattle, where people do not eat it. They just let it kind of like fall on the ground in landscaping and get stuck on your shoes. But in Portugal, like a lot of fruit in Portugal, they make alcohol with it. And this is basically something that started as a moonshine, and eventually some distilleries started making a commercial variety as well. As you know, I don't drink, but I am with a crew of circus performers. Some of you know that I'm a contortionist. If you don't, I'm a contortionist, and these are all magicians and acrobats and jugglers and a bunch of weirdos. But I think we're gonna work our way down. Anyone who wants to try it's gonna try it.
Working down the line, right. Starting with me. It is very moonshiny.
I can't place the flavor. It's almost like a bark, an aromatic something, but it reminds me a lot of grappa.
It tastes like delicious sawdust. If I was going to drink sawdust,
It's like bark.
I would drink that with an aftertaste of burnt sawdust. Okay.
Yeah, moonshiny. Maybe like a little bit. Oh, okay.
Right?
An
like definitely like punch at the end.
Like citrusy or sharp?
No, just
or
sharp, very
just
sharp.
sharp,
Yeah,
moonshiny.
Yeah.
But as a consensus, is it good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all like it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
And there's nothing really quite like it that you've had.
It tastes like a strong moonshine. It's like it has a punch. It's like
Yeah.
you take a sip and it's just like,
Maybe
like, oh.
if you shoot it, it becomes something entirely different.
That sounds like a dare.
It's just strong, but I guess we're gonna have a good night tonight, aren't
Yeah,
we?
do it. We're in Portugal. All right. It gets a thumbs up. There's a little bit in there. I'll try a little sip.
Thank you.
It definitely does taste like a sweet aromatic wood and chemicals to me, but that's what people like, right? In Portugal, the strawberry tree fruit is called Madrono, and the majority of Madrono fruit production is done in Algarve, the southernmost region of mainland Portugal. So my next stop was Évora. Yeah, I didn't have enough time to go all the way down to Algarve. But thankfully, there are closer farming areas that produce Madrono closer to Lisbon. Évora is actually a really cool place. In 1755, there was a huge earthquake that really affected Lisbon. A lot of the city's old buildings were completely destroyed. Although Lisbon is a beautiful city, a lot of the buildings are not that old. Évora was far enough away so it avoided this disaster, and because of that, it has a lot of really, really old buildings. There's a Roman temple from the 1st century, there's a cathedral built in the 13th century, and because I'm a creep, the first place I went to was the Chapel of Bones, which was built in the 16th century. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, fruit, right. So outside the city of Évora, there are a number of farming areas. There are farms growing olives for olive oil, grapes for wine, cork to make stoppers for all the bottles of olive oil and the bottles of wine, and on a smaller level, there is the Madrono. In the area of Alqueva, I met with Julio, the manager of the resort, and I'm going to say this wrong, Herdad do Rio Torto. I'm sorry, Julio. At this resort, they have delightful little bungalows that you can stay in and a number of activities centered around the region. You can go hiking, boating, fishing, and what I was most interested in, you can learn about the agriculture of the area, including a visit to a Madrono farm.
My name is Julio Adrego. I'm the manager of the hotel Herdade do Rio Torto in Portel Alentejo. We have 140 hectares of these bushes in our farm. Here in Portugal we call it Medronho, okay? Mm-hmm. In the majority part of Europe we have it, wild, but I don't know there, but here we use the fruits for drinks, or doing some cookies, or doing some jams, and it's very healthy, very, very healthy, because it's very rich in antioxidants and in C vitamin. We almost don't use water, because they don't need it. It is very, very used to these kinds of weather, these kinds of field, and so on. Very, very resistant, okay? I'm the manager of the hotel. Okay. I just bring people here to see. They stay in the hotel, and in the harvest time, we get them here and usually pick up the fruit with them.
Oh, okay.
And they usually have a group of musicians, and they usually sing traditional music from here, from Alentejo. Mm-hmm. In the meanwhile, we are catching the fruit with the customers.
That's great.
Very, yes, beautiful. It's very beautiful. Yeah, when we make in the vineyards,
yes,
it's the same, but the difference is not grapes; it's Medronho.
So as I said, the Madrono is used to make a variety of different things, and I brought some of them home with me. They are behind me, plus a cup of coffee. So one thing that's unfortunate is that I bought some cookies that are made with the strawberry tree fruit, and they didn't survive the journey. I'm gonna try to find the biggest one I can. Maybe there's one good one left in here. Every single one of these is broken, but this is like the biggest one I could find. You can see the little bits of red in there, which means that the whole fruit was used. It wasn't just the center bit, but also the outside, which can be gritty, but in a baked good, is it going to taste gritty? So yeah, these taste perfectly good. They've got the texture of like a digestive biscuit, so it'd be good with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. And because it's mixed with flour and baked, the gritty texture of the fruit, which some people don't like, is covered up. You can't tell at all. It reminds me a little bit of like those little cookies that are like cream filled with a little bit of strawberry jam on top. It's like that kind of cookie and that kind of strawberry taste also, just without the cream filling. Arbutus Unedo does not only have significance in Portugal, it also has a long history in other Mediterranean regions. You can see references of Arbutus as far back as ancient Rome. The ancient Romans used the branches of the tree to make funeral biers. This practice is even mentioned in Virgil's Aeneid when the young warrior Pallas is killed in battle. When Aeneas had ended his lament, he ordered them to lift the sad corpse, and he sent 1,000 men chosen from the ranks to attend the last rites and share the father's tears, a meager solace for so great a grief but owed a father's sorrow. Others, without delay, interwove the frame of a bier with twigs of oak and shoots of arbutus, shading the bed they constructed with a covering of leaves. Here they placed the youth high on his rustic couch, like a flower plucked from a young girl's fingers, a sweet violet or a drooping hyacinth, whose brightness and beauty have not yet faded, but whose native earth no longer nourishes it or gives it strength. In 13th century Spain, the arbutus tree became the icon of Madrid. As the story goes, at this time there was a conflict between the city council and the church. The church at this time had ownership of the city's forests, and when this conflict was finally resolved, they marked this occasion by adding the arbutus tree to the city's coat of arms. There's also a famous statue, the Bear and the Madrono, in Madrid city center. As mentioned, many people considered the strawberry tree to be very healthy. Well, in 17th century England, it was purported to have a very special medicinal use. According to the book The Complete Herbal of Physical Plants, a book that was written in 1707 by John Pecci, the fruit tastes pleasantly, but not so well as strawberries. 'Tis offensive to the stomach and causes the headache. A water drawn from the leaves and flowers in a glass is counted an excellent antidote against the plague and for poisons. Now how's that for a health benefit? I am at the Madrono's Museum. This is a museum that is dedicated to the strawberry tree fruit, Arbutus Unedo. This was built to bring more attention to this fruit. I'm going to show you around the museum. I'm going to meet with the owner. There's a lot to unravel with the strawberry tree fruit, so let's do it.
My name is Samuel Pacheco and I am responsible for Museu de Madronho. There are a long tradition to do Medronho in this region. That tradition has died. And the museum is one idea to start again with this tradition. We can do a lot of things from Madroño, not only drinks, we can do cakes, we can do honey. It's a lot of potentialities.
So where I live in the US, we have this plant. People don't know what it is. They just grow it because they like how it looks, and they don't realize you can even eat it. They think it's poison.
No.
So I think that you trying to promote the Madrono for Portugal is important, but you might have something to teach us in the US as well. because
Yes,
we don't. We
you
have
know,
it. We don't know what it is.
This plant is typical. Maybe exists in the United States, but it's typical from Mediterranean area.
I see.
And all France, Greece, Italy, also in the Africa. In the Africa, if you take Libya,
really?
Tunisia, Morocco, Algeria, all have this plant.
Is that right? I knew Mediterranean, and I know Seattle has it,
Yeah.
but I didn't know also Africa.
As someone who spends a lot of time digging through information on little-known fruits, I adored this museum. Anything that you could possibly want to know about this fruit was explained in detail. Here are just a few of the fun facts that I learned. Arbutus Unedo will have flowers and fruits at the same time. And because of that, the fruit will ripen at different times. So in order to make sure that the fruit is picked at the proper ripeness, it all has to be done selectively by hand.
You can see this is good for catch, but this is not good yet. That means that when the people are catching, have to be careful.
They go through the plant selectively, so they pick only the very red
Must be one by one.
Right.
The tree is also very resistant towards fire. So sometimes farmers will actually grow this tree around their property as a form of protection.
In 2012, we have a fire in this region. And the fire started that when I arrived to my property, in the property, like I have the Medronho, the fire come there and stop.
The Madrono Museum is not just a museum. Its main attraction is that it is a fully functional distillery of the Madrono spirit. So naturally, there's a lot of detailed explanation on how this fruit has been used over time in order to make the famous beverage. Traditionally, the drink was done as a moonshine with a basic distillery like this. If you live in the Mediterranean, this is something that you might find in your grandparents' garage.
So 2 or 3 months the fruit is fermenting, and then it would be put in the distillery. It's heated up. So this is this red is the fruit here. The steam coming off is collected, and then
refrigeration. And then you can have 80% is the spirit, the good spirit. This 5% is not okay. And then we have 15% is we call frouxo, is the things you don't use also.
80% of this is the purest and best for drinking. The other 20% is not produced for consumption, at least not by reputable places. However, it can be used for non-consumable things like making hand sanitizer. To produce alcohol on a commercial level, it's a very similar process, but it is done a bit differently. Next, I have some jam. This is made with the fruit, sugar, and I think limao means lemon. At least that's what it means in Malaysia. Just try a little bit just on its own first. As a jam, I'm getting a different kind of flavor to it. I'm not really getting a strong strawberry or raspberry taste or mango taste or peach taste like I mentioned before. I'm getting more like an apple butter taste. The jam is a little bit gritty, and I'm guessing if you wanted to make a jam that wasn't gritty, you can strain it to get all that out. But as it is, it's not like too troubling or anything, just a little bit of a gritty texture. And I'm gonna try a little bit on one of the cookies. The strawberry taste of the cookie and the apple butter taste of the jam, they work. Beyond that, the grittiness that was in the jam is far less noticeable when you put it on something like a cookie. The commercial production of the Madrono spirit is much more high-tech, but the basic idea is still the same. Instead of the fruit being put in the bottom of a moonshine-style distiller, instead it is fermented in a giant vat like this one. Each one of these vats is filled with 1,000 kilograms of fruit. That is more than a ton.
Okay, so this gets completely filled with fruit to the top.
And after you make the fermentation here, the gases go up there. The time it's not so much rain, you put a little bit water.
Okay.
Nothing more.
Just the fruit.
Don't put nothing, because Medronho, the disease normally in other fruits don't exist.
After the fruit ferments, these containers are then lifted up, moved along a track, emptied into another container, that is moved on another track, where it is positioned under a contraption that should look pretty familiar.
And then the process is more or less traditional.
I see.
Go till here, after go there, and go for another column there. When arrive here is ready.
After the liquor is made, it is stored in these containers, and then it is bottled up by hand. That is the process of making the basic Madrono brandy. However, the fruit can be used to make a number of other types of drinks. In fact, the Madrono Museum's distillery is famous for its barrel-aged Madrono brandy.
We have two types of spirit. One normal, another old.
Okay, so it's
And,
aged.
We put these 3 years in the barrels. In 2019, we get the gold medal with that.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
We have the silver for the normal.
I see.
This Medronho has also a spirit with some flavors, you know, special flavors. It's not a normal drink, it's really different. And when you put in the wood, I think it's more a old drink, like a cognac or something like that. I cannot explain very well in English, but you know, here you have more the flavors and more you feel more the alcohol. Here you don't feel so much the alcohol, but you feel the complexity and the wood and with the drink, with the flavor of Medronho. It's a little bit different. Only you, someone who tasted it can.
Sure. That's a perfect description of that. I don't know what you're talking about. That's in English. That is a great way to describe it.
The owner was so kind to show me around on a personal tour of the museum and the distillery. But to be honest, the whole time I was really nervous because I was hiding the fact that I didn't drink and that I didn't like the taste of alcohol. Eventually, I knew that I was going to have to tell him, and I was worried about how he was going to react. When I finally built up the courage to tell him, he did not alert the authorities. He didn't even throw me out of the museum. Without hesitation, he offered me a sip of brandy mel.
I actually don't drink, but I think for the video I should take a little sip.
Yes,
Maybe.
you can drink from this. This is typical from here.
Brandy mel is a specialty of the southern part of Portugal, and it is made from both the Madrono fruit, but also Madrono honey. The flavor is far easier to take for somebody like me who doesn't drink alcohol, and it also has a low alcohol content. Well, a lower alcohol content.
So what is the alcohol content of the normal?
42.
I see.
42, 42, 40. This is 19. That is not so alcoholic.
I don't drink, so only very, very special occasions, and I think that this is a special occasion, so let's try a little bit. You can really taste the honey in it. You could also taste this little fruity edge to it. A lot of alcohol, I don't like it because to me, I'm not used to it. It just tastes like, like chemicals. But this, it tastes fruity, it tastes sweet, it tastes like honey. Oh, I actually like that. That's pretty good. You're gonna turn me into a drinker. And finally, I have a chocolate, and I'm not sure if this is a chocolate that is flavored with the fruit on its own, or if it's flavored with the alcohol. It's one of these kinds with the cocoa powder on it, which makes me wonder if maybe there is alcohol in it, because that is more of a adult type of chocolate. It's not kid stuff. Yup, I think it's both. It's got a flavor of fruit, but it also has a flavor of the alcohol. It's kind of like one of those like little cherry cordial kind of things, like a boozy cherry cordial. It's good though. What's most interesting to me is that this fruit can taste very different depending on how you use it. As a chocolate, it tastes a little bit like cherry cordial. As a cookie, it tasted more like strawberry. The fruit on its own is like raspberry and mango, and the jam is a little bit like apple butter. You know, the different flavor components come out. There's a lot of complexity to that little fruit, and depending on how you use it, you can kind of highlight certain parts of it. That's fun. One of the things I love most about this project of mine of traveling around the world to review fruit, I get to see how fruit is used in different ways depending on the country that is using it. In Asia, I've bought mixed fruit juices only to discover that they mix tomatoes into it. The fig leaf melon is used to make a candy in Mexico, a jam in Costa Rica, and a shark fin substitute in China. In Jamaica, people say that the calabash fruit is something that can kill you. In the Philippines, people say that it will save your life. In the case of the strawberry tree fruit, I am beyond surprised. I see a fruit that is almost completely ignored in my own country, yet in Portugal it is so important. The strawberry tree fruit is not an easy fruit. When it's fresh, it is gritty and it is very perishable. I can see the reasoning why the US doesn't use it. However, with a little bit of effort, it can be used to make something special. We can learn so much about fruit by looking at how other cultures use it. And Portugal was not done teaching me things. I learned one more thing about this fruit that I thought was really interesting, something that can solve the problem of perishability, and it also helps with the problem of it being gritty.
It's very difficult to find these kinds of fruit. I don't understand why, because like strawberries and other berries, they have it in the frozen, but no, they don't use it with the Medronho for now. Even the frozen one are very tasty, and it's very refresh, like a ice cream, like something like this. Yeah.
So what do you do with the frozen?
Huh?
What do you
No,
do
you
with
put in drink. This one
So you take one of these and you put it in the drink.
in the drink.
So I have a frozen one. I let it thaw out a little bit. That's actually really good. The one that I had in Seattle way back when was it was okay. It had a flavor of mango and sand because it's got a kind of a gritty texture to it. This though, maybe it's the variety because you know it's actually grown to be used. It's stronger. The texture is still kind of sandy, but it being frozen actually helps. So maybe that's a good tip for using the fresh fruit. And the flavor of this is like peach and berries. I wouldn't say exactly strawberry. You know, it's called strawberry tree fruit because it kind of looks like a little strawberry. Maybe a little bit like strawberry, but I'd say more so it tastes like raspberry. The sweetness on this isn't super high. It's maybe like a 5 out of 10, maybe a 6, or a little bit more than an apple. And 3 out of 10 on tartness. And it's the tartness that you would get from like a peach or a mango, like that kind of tartness, not citrusy. So this is a plant that I think has a lot of use to it. You know, it's used in landscaping in some parts of the US, but a lot of people around the world have foraged it for a long period of time. for a reason. You know, it's probably better to be used to be made into something, because these are super, super fragile. It can be made into really tasty things. It's something that has more use than I think a lot of people realize. So if you see this, you know, check it out. If you have the opportunity to grow something, it'd be a fun one to grow as well. So I think that is about it. Thanks for watching. Before I go, I would like to give a big thank you to Samuel and to Julio. Without their help, this video would not have happened. To anyone watching who is interested in visiting Portugal, or if you live in Portugal, check them out. Check out the museum. It's really, really interesting, and I only gave a little bit of information about this fruit when you can really dig deep into all that was available at this museum. And the hotel, absolutely amazing. The hotel itself is beautiful, but the area that it's in is really a hidden gem. You know, coming from the US, I had no idea about this area, but it's not too far from Lisbon, and it's this beautiful countryside area. It's definitely worth checking out if you are visiting Portugal. And I want to give a thank you to my circus performer friends. I gave them a random shot glass full of liquid, and they all took a sip. And if that's not true friendship, I don't know what is. So guys, thank you very much. To all my viewers out there who want to learn more about the interesting people that I perform with, I put all of their everythings in the description below. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you all my Patreon supporters. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will be back next time with even more from Portugal. Till then, bye-bye.